let's take a deep dive into the great work that EJ Pfister has done with this Korn Ferry Tour player, Quade Cummins. Let's talk about how he took Quade from here to here. When Quade started to work with EJ Pfister, you're going to notice that Quade was getting quite a bit of forward shaft lean at impact. And this was a result of him dragging and pulling on the handle in the downswing. Notice this lead wrist angle on the way down, and specifically at lead arm 30 degrees, how it's making a 100-degree angle. That's quite a bit of lead wrist angle at that moment. We would typically like to see this angle be a little bit larger. When a player has all that lead wrist angle, this is going to allow them to be able to get excessive forward shaft lean at impact and not release it as effectively as they could. That led to some inconsistent spin rates in Quade's game. What you'll notice for Quade as he was taking the club up to the top of the backswing is his chest was swaying quite a bit to the right. You'll see at the top of the swing it's moved 2.6 inches to the right at the top. You'll also notice that he has quite a big sway gap number. And that sway gap is showing us that his chest is 3.2 inches behind the pelvis, which is going to incentivize him on the way down to sway with his chest forward in the downswing. And so if you notice, you're going to see two things. That chest sway number in transition is going to be moving towards the left. In Quade's case, a little excessively, where it's moved essentially 3.5 inches or so. And you're also going to notice here how Quade, the chest is catching up to the pelvis excessively with that sway gap. So he would go from negative 3.2, and then by the time he's at that lead arm parallel, he's at negative 1.8 inches. That's closing it a bit too much. And you're going to really see that in the 3D. If you're watching that blue and yellow vertical line, notice how they're getting closer to one another. What this allows him to do is be able to create and hold on to that wrist angle. So by getting him not to sway to the right as much, you're going to notice that on the way down, his chest doesn't have to go swaying forward excessively, and that's going to make it a lot easier for him to release the club properly. So if you look at his swing now, notice as he goes up to the top of the backswing here, how his pelvis and his chest are much more centered on top of one another. Before that sway gap was -3, now it's 1.3. So his chest, his pelvis are a little bit more on top of one another. And you can also see how that chest sway has only moved an inch to the right, not 3.5 inches to the right. What this allows him to do is now in the downswing, his chest doesn't have to go swaying forward. Before, he had to do that in order to be able to make good contact. Now, he has the ability to be able to move a little bit more freely and not create all that extra angle on the way down. Notice here at that lead arm 30, how his wrist angle is now 108 degrees. So he's doing a much better job at actually letting that club release on the way down. And as a result, you're going to see how he's not getting all that excessive forward shaft lean. Now he has 12 degrees of forward shaft lean, where before he had 22. Spin rates are going to be a lot more consistent with this. Start lines, ball flight, a lot more consistent with this move as well.